What is happening, you guys? It's your boy LDAWB coming at you with a new video, and it's been a while, but I'm here, and I finally want to talk for a second about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and basically my thoughts on not just Rebirth, but just really Zack's involvement in the Remake series. By the way, I just want to notate the fact that this video will have spoilers. So if you are not ready to hear the spoilers for Remake, Rebirth, or the original FF7 series, just advise for you to not watch this and come back later when you finish the game. So just a little bit of a FYI. What's really going to happen to Zack in the Remake series? What's his role? And today I just want to be able to discuss that, because I have been going on and on and on. I have been on this Zack train ever since, even before Final Fantasy Remake. And just to kind of give you a background for those who don't know, I have been drawing personally Zack and Cloud pieces to kind of create moments of Zack's life. I personally relate to Zack a lot because not only is he my favorite character in Final Fantasy VII, but I just have a thing with tragic heroes, tragic scenarios where people give up their lives for a better cause, and in this case, saving Cloud's life and sacrificing his life. And so, why I made that series a long time ago, I wanted to show moments of Zack's life because he never really had the opportunity. I feel like we only are given a snippet of time and space to really get to know Zack. We know that Cloud adopts his personality in the original game, but we don't really get to see his life. And so obviously, fast forward, Crisis Core being the game and being what it is, I personally, as a Final Fantasy VII fan, prefer Crisis Core. That game to me is much more meaningful to me than FF7, the original game. And that could be heresy to a lot of people, but to me personally, Zack has always been that character for me. Again, just going back with the tragedy and just the nature of Zack and his personality, how he's so pure and carefree, and he's able to be positive even in the midst of difficult scenarios. So fast forward to the remake, played through the remake, and I loved it. I remember in a Twitch stream years ago theorizing on what I thought Zack was going to be, or his role in the remake series after that. And I knew that he was going to be utilized more, because back when I had like 3 or 4 people watching me, and a good friend of mine and I were talking about it, and I was theorizing that Zack was in the game, rather he was an in-game model. I thought that was very interesting. And I thought, well, why are they using an in-game model? So I was theorizing. I was saying, okay, Zack's going to be usable. He's going to be playable. He's going to be important in the remake series. He's going to show up more. And so, not to my surprise, in comes Crisis Core Remaster. In comes Intermission. And we're starting to see a lot more of Zack now, more than before. And so I thought that was interesting, because not only, again, am I a fan of Zack, I just love to see more of him, because I feel like people should be appreciative of him, appreciative of just who he is, not really what he looks like. And I'll go into, again, on the look and how Tsunamura regards Zack, and how I feel anyway, how I feel like Tetsuya was wanting to put the spotlight on him. But really, his attitude is what really intrigues me. It's just the positivity in the midst of the struggle, or the positivity amidst the crisis. And so again, I was so happy to see him in Crisis Core. I was happy to kind of not only be excited to play the game. I remember drawing mural pieces of Crisis Core and drawing all the characters, and I had a whole series of Theorizing. And at the time I thought, okay, and I remember this video from a long time ago that I made right after Remake. It was around 2021, and I said, man, would it be great if Rebirth started at calm and it started with Cloud narrating a story, or rather his version of the events that happened while he was with Sephiroth and Nibelheim. And I thought that would be so inclusive to add Sephiroth as a playable character, and not only have Sephiroth be a playable character, but also have Zack be a playable character. And I thought, man, if that was the case, I would be the happiest man alive. And it's so interesting that I made that video, or rather just that theory, long time ago. And around November of 2022, I had made a video talking about if Zack was playable in Rebirth. And I thought, wow, I was linking all the pieces together. And again, you can call me a stan, you can call me this diehard fan of Zack and whatever, but I was just, my brain sometimes can just put two and two together and be like, okay, he's going to show up in the Rebirth series, and here's why. And around that time, I was like, yeah, he's going to be involved in Rebirth. So anyway, fast forward all the way to Rebirth. We see snippets of Zack's story. Not only that, but we start off with Zack. We start off with Zack carrying Cloud, and I thought, man, what are the odds of that whole thing starting with that scene? Because again, I had made a picture years ago of Zack carrying Cloud. Fast forward, how it starts like that. We have the scene where he finally meets with Aerith, but Aerith is unconscious or dead or whatever it's called. We don't know. So it's interesting that we are given hints of Zack, not only hints, but an actual playable Zack. And I thought, wow, what a great way to start off with Rebirth. It's just going ham sandwich down that path. Fast forward, we're going back and forth, going back and forth. We're only given, again, doses of Zack. We're only given, okay, we have been hinting on Zack for a couple years with Crisis Core. Now it's time to kind of give people a perspective of Zack based upon all the experiences from the original FF7 to Crisis Core to Intermission to Remake. And I thought those scenes were done really well. Again, it really just comes to show you really his personality, and it's a parallel, if you will, to Cloud's personality, because Cloud is very much a shell. He's hollow. Watching those scenes over and over and over again, and I remember watching, someone uploaded all the Zack scenes on YouTube, and I remember watching not only the cutscenes but just looking at the comments, and I kid you not, there was nothing but just, Zack is so pure. He's such a pure boy. He has like this good soul. He's just this happy-go-lucky guy, and he's just so pure. I just keep seeing stuff like that. And so I thought to myself, what are the odds? And this is kind of going into what I predict 3 will be, or whatever the third part of the Remake series will be. And this is kind of getting into really heavy spoiler territory. But what are the odds if Zack ends up dying in the third game? Like, he actually has a hero's death in the third game. And for whatever reason, that thought crossed my mind, because as much as it really makes me upset and sad thinking about it, boy, would that be a tragedy if that were to ever happen. Again, this might not happen. This, you know, who knows? Keeping in line with the original story in terms of Aerith and her death, and the fact that Aerith was this good-natured person and she was able to help the party, and for whatever reason the game says no, Aerith is going to die just because, and the actions on coping with that loss and accepting the loss and just the fact that Aerith was such a pure person. And so I thought to myself, what if that were to be the case with Zack? What if something were to happen to him to create this kind of really tragic death, really keeping in line with the original game, because in the original game he dies. But I thought to myself, what if that actually did happen anyway, and we're able to kind of get more of Zack, and then that tug, I guess, the same kind of tug that we got from Aerith, but this time in the Remake series, it's on Zack. Because, right? Aerith died because. And again, Crisis Core is a great game. I always tear up when I play that game, especially when I reach the end. Is because it sucks. You care about this guy so much that it sucks. The ending sucks. And if that were to happen on the third game, I literally would not be able to keep myself composed. And this is something that I feel like no one's really talking about, because no one's really paying attention to Zack. And I want to bring not only Zack, but really the connection between Advent Children and Final Fantasy Remake series, and really just connotate the other purpose of Advent Children, and really showing off Advent Children and saying, hey, it's in theaters before Rebirth is coming out, is because there's a connection. The idea that Aerith and Cloud are always talking is evident on Advent Children. We see Aerith and Cloud interact with each other a lot in Advent Children. Not only interact, but Aerith actually helps Cloud in the battle against Bahamut in that group fight in Midgard. She actually assists Cloud in that fight. We see a lot of these interactions between Cloud and Aerith. And we also not only get to see that, we also get to see brief moments of Cloud and Zack interacting with each other. I think about the ending, or not really the ending, but the fight with Sephiroth, where Sephiroth zooms in and he's about to, he has the high ground. He zooms in with his sword, about to deliver a critical blow, and we go to the White World with Cloud. And Zack is near him and he's saying, hey, you don't need my help or anything. Listen, you took care of Sephiroth before. You did it all by yourself. And he says his famous lines, embrace your dreams, protect your honor as a soldier. And then Cloud finished off that statement by saying that, okay, I am your living legacy. We have moments where Cloud sticks the sword, the Buster Sword, into the cliff where Zack supposedly dies in the original game. And it's interesting that he reflects. There are pivotal scenes in Advent Children where not only are we seeing reflection from Cloud, we're seeing really the spiritual motif of Zack, which I believe is the wolf. And I don't think, I've seen people online kind of say their perspective in terms of what the wolf represents, but I honestly think that the wolf represents Zack. Not only am I saying that he represents Zack, there's a lot of representations in terms of Cloud's design, or his Advent Children design, with the wolf emblem, which is called Fenrir, which is a direct homage to Zack. And Zack, not to get really onto the analysis, and as a character designer, as an artist, I see why symbolism is important, why Zack's character parallels the look of a wolf. But going back on Cloud's reflection, it's very interesting how he almost describes Zack as an actual person. And going back to the Rebirth game, he's not the greatest narrator. He's just, number one, he made this whole fake opening about him and Sephiroth. He's creating this delusionary thing where he's separate from reality. And I believe that the third game will inevitably have a point to where Cloud is recognizing this. He's, just like in the original game, one of the biggest moments in original FF7 was when Cloud wakes up. He realizes that this entire time he's been living a lie. He's had this false misidentification. He's been acting as if he's someone else, but he's not acting like himself, and him valuing himself and him identifying himself as, oh, me, the guy that took down Sephiroth with a sword stuck on my chest. I was the one that actually did that. I wasn't trying to personify anyone. That's who I am. And I feel like that moment where he recognizes who he is going to finally realize a lot of things. Dare I say, probably maybe have a burial scene. And I think that was something that was missing in Rebirth, was the burial scene. I thought that was a very pivotal moment in original FF7. And what I mean by burial scene is not really when Cloud lays Aerith into the water. It's when she floats down and down and deeper into the water. It's a very scary scene, but I feel like that carries a lot of weight in terms of the aspect of letting go. There's this idea that we're seeing this person be one with the life stream and just see her sink into the bottom. And I think at some point of capacity, we need to probably see that on 3. But going back to Zack, I think Zack in Rebirth was amazing, especially on that end fight. And I thought, wow, my jaw literally dropped to the floor when I saw that scene with Zack and Cloud. And I remember way back in 2021, 2020 even, I made this picture of Zack and Cloud back to back together, and I thought, man, that would be so cool. And I was just so happy to see that, so happy to see Zack. And sadly, that's the only time that we get to see Zack and Cloud together. Again, I'm just a stickler for Zack and Cloud being together, and they separate and everything. And all in all, I think going back to Zack's role, which is really the point of this video, and I apologize if I'm just going around, I tend to do that, is really the reasoning. I think going back to Advent Children at the very end, we see Aerith talking to Cloud and saying, see, everything's okay, and having Zack back there as well, kind of leaning against the door, and we see the white world, if you will. We see them both. I think that there are so many similarities from the way that Rebirth tells its story and Advent Children. I just think they're just way too similar now, and I think that was purposeful, I believe. And I think why it was important for Advent Children to be shown is that very reason. And I think they're going to tie it all together in the 3rd game. I wouldn't be surprised if the 3rd game was called Reunion. Now, before you slam me on the comments and tell me I'm wrong, I know that Crisis Core has the name Reunion, but I'm not going to go as far as to say that it wouldn't be if everything is coming together in Rebirth, right? We see Sephiroth trying to say, okay, there are different timelines, there are all kinds of stuff happening. Listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that FF7 could be called FF7 Reunion. If anything else, now you can call it Revengeance, Revelations, Reloaded, who cares, right? Like, but again, I'm gonna say this and say, okay, it might just be called Reunion. Now, I know Crisis Core has it, but we've never actually had a Final Fantasy VII game that actually has it. And I think seeing Advent Children, seeing Rebirth, seeing all this stuff, seeing that this is a remake of an unknown trajectory of storytelling, but keeping the spirit of the original together, I think that would be a fitting name. Again, could be something else, whatever. But really the point of this video was to kind of share my thoughts on really the forecast of Zack. And I think, again, if that were to be the case of him dying at the third game, and I think that would be very sad, but it would also pay homage to the original game, at least. I know that there are a lot of criticism involving it being all over the place in terms of storytelling, and whether it's Nojima or Tetsuya Nomura making those decisions, it doesn't matter. I think, obviously, post Sakaguchi, and I think why he was so relevant in the original game was there, and I think they want to still do that. I feel at the end of the day, as it's being tied together, I think Zack dying would carry the weight that it needs to carry. Not because Zack, you know, for whatever sense or reason deserves to live. I think having him pass away in a hero's death in a tragic way would still, again, pay homage to the original game, and I think it would carry a lot of weight, just like it did back then with Aerith, especially during the end. So I may be wrong. A couple of years from now, just like with everything, I make these videos and no one really pays attention to them. Not that I want them to pay attention to them, but my brain gets into this analytical mode of maybe this will happen, maybe this won't happen. It couldn't happen. Maybe, you know, Zack lives and we have him living in another universe. I honestly think really it's not really about living or death, because I feel like in Final Fantasy VII, no one ever really dies. I really believe that people just don't die. You know, Sephiroth isn't dead. Sephiroth halfway in the game is dead. But why is it that we see him a lot? He gets killed off, but he's still around. He's still alive. Aerith is dead, but she's still around. Zack is dead, but his spirit is still around. So I'm under the idea that that's what's going to be happening. And I do want to see a turnaround for Cloud. I know I talked about Zack a lot, but I want to see a turnaround for Cloud as well. I want to see him really turn around and really just recognize and say, okay, I have been having false identification issues. I have been living a lie, and valuing himself, really stepping out of his shell and valuing himself, and maybe having the inclusion of Aerith just helping him not beat himself up, to not go down that rabbit trail. Obviously, Tifa being there with him and stuff like that. But anyway, that's it. I know I rambled enough, and I appreciate you sticking around and hearing my thoughts. I know this is a really interesting theory, if you will, but I just wanted to share my thoughts. What do you guys think, though? If you guys think that I'm off, let me know. If you guys think that this may be a thing, let me know, and I will probably come back to this years from now and facepalm myself if I'm wrong, or pat myself on the back and say that I'm right. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you to my Patreons. Again, I really value you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you guys for watching again. I know it's been a while, and I'll have videos posted soon. So anyways, guys, I'll catch y'all later, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Knew I could be my own really fucked me up and choose your own perspective. Evolved this far enough just to see life at clearance. Wolves howling at the moon, you like the secret weapon. Don't you dare come near me, gather strength to continue and trust my intuition. Type of Josh in the gear with pandemic start interfering. Put pressure from above the roof, red liquid drop down from the ceiling. Ancestors up in this room, making sure you heard their spirit. Someone feel me, watch.